Mortal Kombat 10. You know, this one was released in 2015. And if you are unaware of Mortal Kombat lore, you could tell that this one has a basis on MK4, which was part of the 3D, the early attempts at 3D fighting. Trying to do like what Tekken does with a 3D battle arena. But this isn't about MK4, this is about MK10. And it does take place right in some ways. It covers the years between the MK9 and up to like 25 years later. Somewhere in there, 20 to 25 years later. And I say that because we have, because amongst the new characters that are added, we get introduced to about 8 new characters, which includes kids or other descendants of the characters in NK9. I mean, we have a relative of Kung Lao's. We have the son of Kenshi. We have the daughter of Jackson Briggs. And we have the daughter of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. Yeah, they hooked up after MK9. Which they've always tended to hint at some sort of relationship between the two budding, even in the movies. And a good part of this game's story is showing them coming into their own. And a lot has happened as part of the backstory show. We see Kotal's rise to power over Mileena, which Mileena has been deposed. Kotal is now apparently Khan. But Mileena is not going without a fight. Not surprising. We also have other character. We see that there is a peace between Outworld and Earthrealm. Probably tentative. I mean, with Shao Kahn's death, there is a lot of strife. And the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei have a peace. And this is because, you heard me mention Jax. Jax was somehow, Jax, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero were, quote, brought back from death as mortals again. They remember their time, and it has left a mark on them, made some of them wiser. And we also see characters showing up in the story campaign. Apparently, Noob Saibot, Bihan is mentioned. But we have characters such, I think, as Serena, who I think shows up in Mortal Kombat 5 or 6. I don't remember which. She's in a cutscene, I believe. We see others show up that you have to only fight. This is about the only story mode in which Liu Kang does not play a part. At least of the more recent games, near does Kung Lao. Well, you don't play as them. One of the things that has been seen in the story modes of these games is usually playing a part of one of the protagonists of the story. which, you know, you're going to have encounters with them. I think this one works out that all the chapters are single characters. I believe we have chapter 1 as Johnny Cage, chapter 2 as Kotal Khan, chapter 3 as Sub-Zero, but as later chapters come, you see them bouncing between the kids and characters and some of the originals or some of the in the basic time frame. And you have to fight. You are literally in a game where there are no, quote, story mode, where there's only certain clear-cut villains. And in fact, in the story mode of this, you actually play as only one of those villainous characters, and that is Devora, who was new for Mortal Kombat X. Although part of the story shows that she was also around during Mortal Kombat 9, but you never fought her. We also see Frost make her official debut in the current timeline. Although apparently if you look in the background of MK9, you'll see her in the background of the pit stage occasionally fighting. But that's neither here nor there. Each chapter shows progression and development with each character, especially the key part of their storyline. And in the first chapter, Johnny Cage defeats Shinnok, which we now have some sort of explanation behind his green power. That being that he is some deep descendant of, I think, of some Mesopotamian deity or something like that. And of course, this is also going to be infused into Cassie. But anyhow, and as we work through it, there is an underlying fight against Netherrealm. The Netherrealm, not Netherrealm Studios. And in charge of Netherrealm, of course, is Quan Chi, but he is also working for Shinnok. So obviously, he is trying to get things in place, and this shows how much of a master manipulator he is. He has a loyal follower in Devora. And when Shinnok's amulet is discovered in Outworld, being used by Melina, who has no idea what she's playing with, and they retrieve it, Devora steals it and makes it look like the Earthrealmers are part of this plot. And so when the Earthrealm has managed to capture Quan Chi, which puts him in the perfect place for him to be, quote, caught, or get the amulet and free Shinnok, I wouldn't be surprised if he's managed to put things in place so that he gets killed in the process, hence not being able to revive and free any of the other revenants, like Liu Kang, Kitana, Kung Lao, maybe not Sindel, but there are a bunch of other revenants that they can free. However, the plan, when Scorpion has found out that Quan Chi was the one behind everything that caused the death of his clan initially, he comes back with a vengeance. And, well, Sub-Zero is helping him. They're friends, they're buddies. Testing each other's limits too, and that's seen later on, but they will work together. In fact, Scorpion has been training Takeda, who is Kenchi's son. And everything is going crazy. And in the end, of course, after Shinnok's freed, and Raiden does his best to fend off Shinnok's forces, the combat kids come to the aid. Jackie's coming into her own, and they show Kotal that things are going crazy. Kotal, in what can be seen as treacherous, but in a typical leader move, if you see danger coming, you try to fend it off. Make an appeasement, maybe that'll work. Maybe not. Gives him time. Of course, that's also saying that the loss is inevitable. But of course, when Cassie gets there, she fights her way in and literally beats the crap out of a corrupted Shinnok. Thus proving that she does have her father's talents. She also mends a wound, because during the course of her growing up, Johnny and Sonya had gotten married, and Johnny was, you would have thought that of the two of them, you would not have thought of the two of them that would play out like this, but Johnny matured greatly during the whole Mortal Kombat experience. So much so that he would do everything to, he did films to help provide for the family. But Sonya, giving in to her own personal fears, I think, about being a mother and not thinking she'd be a good enough mother, would accept missions, and of course, eventually, they got divorced. Which shows that of the two of them in parenting, Johnny is the more level-headed one. Yes, he has his, tradition of mockery and quipping, and sometimes making a joke out of everything. But he is very down to earth. The older Johnny Cage may have the, quote, ego, but he also has the sensibility, which is something you see more of later on. But, at the end of MK10, we see the mending of that relationship, which is a good thing. In my opinion, it's a very good thing. I should also note that in this story mode, you only once saw a character get to perform a fatality, and that was D'Vorah, which I think was another hint of what was coming with her. And it's easy to see this as you look back on it. Every other character that's, quote, good, you don't have them perform fatalities in story mode. But D'Vorah gets to. Now, this introduced some things to it and had some other things that I don't necessarily like. I mean, you had some action-related cutscenes, which, you know, you perform certain actions to progress the cutscene. Of course, failing an action results in a change, I guess, in the cutscene playout. And, you know, sometimes I think those split-second, hit the key at the right time cutscenes are a bad choice. But it does help the story play out. And keeping in a tradition that MK9 started, they had combatants come in through a DLC type scenario, download DLC content. In total, there were 9, quote, DLC characters. If you purchased the game, pre-purchased the game, you got Goro. The first pack had, trying to think who came out in which pack now. But you had 4 Mortal Kombat characters. One which sort of was original. The 4 Mortal Kombat characters was Bo Rai Cho, Tanya, Rain, and a character called Triborg, who was basically the cyber units combined, and you could choose between, since all characters had like different phases they could be, different fighting styles, you could actually choose between Sector, Cyrax, or Smoke, a la MK3, or even Sub-Zero, a la MK9, Cyber Sub-Zero. And DLC crossover characters from horror and sci-fi, you had Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, the Alien, and the Predator. And they had the Alien come from a Tarkatan, so people could get their Baraka fix. People love Baraka. And every character has a backstory, and they also introduced to this series some witty banter. This was actually the first of their games that had the combatants pre-fight have a little witty banter going on between each other. Which it's funny when you hear some of them play out. Johnny Cage going up against the Predator. Oh, no. Johnny Cage going up against the Alien. Game over, man. Game over. Bo Rai Cho facing the Predator. You are one ugly motherfucker. It's funny because, you know, you get some witty banter. Like Johnny Cage going up against Goro. You owe me a pair of sunglasses. Which, if you ever saw the first Mortal Kombat movie, Goro takes Johnny Cage's sunglasses and crushes them. So, you know, you have a bunch of witty repartee between combatants. One could say maybe that shows a little bit of outside interaction outside of the game. Some of them are fourth wall breaking, some of them are just downright funny. And I like that. And they did manage to put it into other games, or into later games. They carried that tradition over. I'm not talking about them now. Overall, this was a nice addition to the franchise, a very lovely addition. And we also see at the end of the story mode that Raiden has indeed become a bit corrupted. And it sets things up for another story. I mean, Liu Kang and Kitana now rule NetherRealm. Outworlds is still now doesn't have a civil war. You have a lot of things set up and further inferences in it. And it was a very, very nice addition to this franchise. And it also had brought back some interesting things that were in previous releases, brought back brutalities, apparently. Brought back other, I think, stage fatalities too. Of course, I think you have to unlock them for some of the stages. But it is a very nice, I may be wrong on that, but it is a very nice addition. I do recommend it to any Mortal Kombat fan, any fighting game fan, to be honest, especially when you have their X-ray moves popping up and some of the other neat stuff that they put in. But that's all I'm going to say about Mortal Kombat X. Again, I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. I do suggest you get the game. It's a fun game with everything involved. It has a good thought-out story. It sets things up for the next Mortal Kombat game, especially with, of course, its endings and other things. But please, I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about Mortal Kombat 10. And I hope you subscribe to the channel and check out all the other videos I have up there. Bye all!